Now, Christmas is traditionally a time of goodwill, which could mean good news for the fair trade movement, which aims to give farmers and workers across the world a better deal. But with cash still short, are people tempted to buy fair trade or more inclined to look for a bargain? We've been to Hinckley, a fair trade town, to find out, and watch out for the Des Coleman Christmas jumper.
A few years ago, I was lucky enough to go to Ghana to speak to the farmers that actually benefited from fair trade. But in these difficult times, are we in the East Midlands still willing to support it?
Tony, hi.
Hi.
Now, you own Coffee Rio,
Yes.
don't you? And you serve fair trade products.
We do.
Why?
I've been in Hinckley for 5 years now, and we sell fair trade products because we believe in supporting the communities and cooperatives in the third world countries who are less fortunate than ourselves.
I've come to meet a group of fair trade supporters to hear what they've got to say.
We think it's really important because we've got so much wealth on this side of the world, and other people, the producers, very often have a really raw deal.
We know that by supporting fair trade we're improving those conditions for people in developing countries, and that's really important because we might moan about our working environments, but they're nothing compared to what some people in developing countries are having to work with.
A common misconception is it's just chocolate, tea, coffee. There's a lot of gifts that you can buy fair trade, and fruit, olive oil, some wine as well that's fair trade, so there's more than just the average tea, coffee and chocolate.
Are you an avid supporter of the fair trade wine?
Yes, very much so.
Kelly, fair trade products, you buy them?
I don't.
Why?
Basically, they're a lot more expensive than just normal products. I would if they were a bit cheaper and the same level as the other supermarkets, but unfortunately they're not, so...
When it comes to fair trade products, do you buy them or not?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, I believe in helping the third world countries and supporting local farmers and local communities.
I don't consciously not buy it, but price dictates what you buy these days.
Well, we're joined by Mathew Hulbert now, a Liberal Democrat councillor in Hinckley and Bosworth, and the council's fair trade champion. What does a fair trade champion do?
Well, as far as I know, Murray, I'm the only one in the country who has this title of a fair trade champion.
Okay.
I champion fair trade at the Borough Council, so I speak up on it at council meetings. I'm part of the Fair Trade Forum, which is a group of volunteers, one of whom was in your film there in Hinckley. And I just really speak out and promote about the fact that ethical shopping is a great thing to do. It's how we help people in the developing world.
I think a lot of people would agree with you and say it's a great thing to do, but when they look at the prices, that's where they go, not for me, because the prices look a bit high, is what people have told us.
Yes, and I think the lady there was echoing a misconception, which is that it is more expensive. In actual fact, fair trade products are much cheaper now. They compete very well with regular products. The situation with fair trade used to be that you used to pay a lot more and the products weren't necessarily always as good, the coffee and the other things. But in actual fact now, the products are good, you're paying a competitive price, and you're helping people in the developing world.
A lot of people have bought into it, haven't
wrong
they?
with that?
37 free trade towns in the East Midlands, Anna. A good idea?
Yeah, well, I like it.
Distorting
We
the
have a fair trade
marketplace?
week. I mean, I tell you what, my thing is that I feel quite strongly that it's quite obscene when we, and I know we all do it, all of us sitting around here, people at home, would be wearing clothes that there's a good chance will have been put together by a child. And so fair trade clothing, if we could do that, would be great. I mean, I've done fair trade T-shirts, for example. They're quite difficult to find fair trade clothing, and I think if we could make some advances there, I think you'd see a lot of people who would take that up.
There are now more than 2,000 fair trade products. I think people always think of the bananas, they always think of the coffee and the tea.
There's
more than 2,000 fair trade products. Go on.
We have a week in these.
And Mary, this is the thing. Consumers actually have a lot of power if they decide to choose and shop in the right way. We don't just, of course, have fair trade. We've got people encouraging organic purchasing. But the other one, of course, is shopping locally. We had Small Business Saturday yesterday out talking to local firms. I mean, there's a lot of power that consumers can have if they think and are discerning about what they're doing.
Still, especially at the moment.
Well, but I think the point is right. If they're competitive and also the quality is good, more people are aware of it, the price will come
And
down.
also, I think some people will pay... Sorry, I was going to say, I think sometimes people will pay a bit more, a little bit more, if it means they know that a child hasn't made that shirt
part of the quality,
tie.
And I think Chris is entirely right what he says about shopping locally. Some of the people that you saw there were from a local business networking group in Hinckley called Love Hinckley, who do a fantastic job in promoting small, local businesses, often businesses where people run them from their home, and so they have no shop front, and they did a great job there.
So do you see people buying into this more at Christmas? Are they more likely to be a little bit more generous and be prepared to pay a little bit more, if it is a little bit more?
I think so, and I think we, on a different sphere, we saw recently with the Children in Need appeal, people are generous in this country. We're a generous people, and even though we're all living in austerity Britain, people are prepared to help people who are even more in need than they are.
Which is good news.
Absolutely, and I think that we see some of these natural disasters that are really afflicting some of the poorest parts of the world, but it's not just about the emergency aid then and there. What we've got to do is realise that our economy, the purchases that consumers have, can have a long-term effect in bringing them up to a standard that will be more sustainable.
Plenty of goodwill going around the studio right now.
That's why I like international aid. That's one of the great things about it. I'm a proud supporter of our government.
Well, while you're here, Matthew, we've been talking obviously about the economy after the autumn statement. Give us your view of a Lib Dem here in the East Midlands.
I think that we're growing in the East Midlands and the economy is growing. I think Nick Clegg said it this week when he was doing a better job than David Cameron normally does in answering Prime Minister's questions, when he said that it's thanks to the Liberal Democrats that we have the recovery. This government would not have a majority were it not for the Liberal Democrats, and with the pupil premium, with the taking millions out of tax, we're doing a really good job. But Chris is entirely right to say... I'm just about to agree with you, Chris. You're entirely right when you say that we need to be doing more to help the most vulnerable. I absolutely agree with you on that.
So the recovery is down to the Lib Dems, Anna?
No, I mean, it's a serious point about two parties coming together in the national interest, taking some of the most difficult decisions that any government's had to do to clear up the mess that we had inherited. And we actually work well together. And I'm not going to be bothered to score points against Lib Dems, because by and large I enjoy working with Liberal Democrats in government. I mean, I worked with Norman Lamb in the Department of Health, and that was really great.
You work with them, Chris? If you had to form a coalition, would you work with the Lib Dems? Could you?
I don't think the Liberals are going to be in play really for any way in a significant way at the next general election, because of all the broken promises. Remember tuition fees and all the promises that they made?
Parliamentary force.
They remember Nick Clegg's video.
And no one is convinced that Ed Miliband is a potential future Prime Minister. I think you'll be coming back to us on bended knee, the Labour Party.
They will, because Labour are really, really vicious against Lib Dems in Parliament.
At least we'll be talking about the cost of living. That's what matters most to people.
Honey, we're getting on and doing it.
I wish you were.
Matthew Hulbert, thank you very much indeed for joining us in the studio, and have a very happy Christmas.